what's up everybody? Steve Billington Fishing here, and today we're talking about cold weather kayak gear. Brr. We're going to cover a few different things in this video. We're going to talk about clothing, safety, comfort, comfort. Thank you, Hannah. All right, go away. You're cracking me up. Beep. Cut. We're going to talk about clothing, safety, comfort, just my general approach to cold weather kayak fishing. We're also going to get into some of the things I bring along and do that make my time on the water enjoyable when it's literally like freeze your nuts off outside. The first thing we're going to talk about is clothing. Now, there are so many different opinions. Like, if you go look up cold water fishing, whether it's on YouTube, Reddit, Facebook, there's a lot of different opinions out there. I've seen people literally in like jeans and steel toe boots with big Carhartt jackets and no PFD. Choose who you get your advice from carefully, is what I'm saying. Me, I'm not an expert, but this is what works for me and has kept me safe so far. Knock on wood, will continue to keep me safe for a long time to come. Now, for cold weather fishing, in my kayak, on the bank, on a boat, doesn't matter, I wear the same thing, and that is a float suit. Now, I am wearing the bibs. See? I'm not wearing the jacket because it's hot in this house and it's hot in that jacket. My legs are sweating inside of the float bibs, and there is only so much suffering I'm willing to endure for all of you. P.S. Before we go too far, I will put links to everything down in the description below. So if you want to grab something, jump down in the comment or the description. The links will be there for you. So my float suit is made by Norfin, and I like it a lot. There are many different float suits out there. Some of them astronomically expensive, some of them on the lower cost end, and some of them in the middle. Norfin is on the lower cost compared to a lot of them. But let me tell you, the quality is not low cost at all. The zippers are high quality, materials high quality. It's very warm, very comfortable. I personally don't see any reason to spend more money on a more expensive float suit. No matter what float suit you get, if you're a bigger guy like me, you're going to feel constricted. That's one of the things you actually have to accept about cold weather fishing, particularly in a kayak. You're going to feel constricted. Sometimes you're going to feel downright claustrophobic because you're going to have your base layer. I guess I should talk about that. So my base layer, I have pants and long sleeve thermals. The float suit goes on right over top of them. And then for socks, I have 3mm neoprene socks. Now, you can wear these in the kayak just by themselves, which is why I like them so much. In the kayak, I'm always barefoot. In the winter, I have to have something on my feet, and I really can't stand it. So I just wear the neoprene socks. They're diving socks in the kayak, and then when I'm getting out to walk around, I'll either put on deck shoes, muck boots, Crocs, just kind of whatever feels right in that particular weather situation. So I got my base layer thermals, my 3mm diving socks. If it's particularly cold that day, I will wear another shirt on top of the base layer. But typically, I'm going to be base layer long sleeve, and then my Reaper hoodie from AFCO over top of it, and then the jacket for the float suit. That pretty much puts together the actual clothing that I'm wearing. A hat, obviously, on days where you need it, or some earmuffs or something. I tend to just wear a pullover hat if I wear anything on my head at all. The second thing we're going to talk about is like one of the most important things. So the float suit does give you, as it indicates, flotation capability. It is not a replacement for a PFD. Let me say that again. It is not a replacement for a PFD. And if you are fishing in a tournament, it is not going to be within the rules to wear a float suit and not wear a PFD. Plain and simple. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm not a fan of the inflatable PFDs in general. They don't always deploy, and it's a common misconception that they're going to deploy when they hit water. That's not exactly how they work. I am not going to go down the rabbit hole of why they don't always go off or why they don't go off instantly as soon as they touch the water, why some of them do versus don't. I'm just not a fan of inflatables. I do own one. I haven't used it in quite a long time. I do recharge it every year just in case I choose to use it. But the reasons why I don't like them in general, we can digress from. The reason I think it's a really bad idea to use an inflatable in winter is because when you're talking about cold water, everything changes. If you fall off the boat in, say, the summer, let's assume that you're conscious for this scenario, right? If you fall off the boat into warm water and you know how to swim and you're not in any kind of a distress, let's just say you fell in, right? You're going to be okay, probably, in this very basic scenario. Because even if you weren't wearing a PFD, as long as you're just falling out of a boat, you're probably getting right back up to the surface. You're swimming over the boat. You're getting back in. Let's just assume in a perfect world, that's how this scenario goes. When you fall over in cold water with the same scenario, these optimal conditions for everything being okay, if that inflatable doesn't go off, you've got a real problem. Cold water changes the whole game. I'm going to read to you, the Army Corps of Engineers shared this, the Mark Twain Lake page last year, and I continue to reshare it. But I want to read to you these times, okay? So when you hit the water, the time it takes for your body to go into cold water shock, 1 minute. Cold incapacitation, 10 minutes. Hypothermia, 1 hour. Now, these are like really ideal numbers. You could shorten all of these drastically depending on the conditions and the water temperature. 1 hour for hypothermia might be extremely optimistic. 1 minute for cold water shock might be optimistic. Something that a lot of people don't realize, when you hit cold water, there is a physiological response in the form of a gasp. I don't care how well you train, how much you fish in the cold. I don't care if you do cold plunges every day. There is a physiological response. If you fall out of your kayak and hit the water, you're going to gasp. It's cold. Your body's going to have cold water shock. It's going to happen. If you gasp and inhale water, it only takes like 1 cup or something like that in your lungs to drown you. Think about when you're at home like cooking and you got to put like 1 cup of water in your macaroni and cheese. It ain't that much. So take all of that information and now you go overboard and your auto-inflate PFD does not go off. That's a problem. I know what you're thinking. It's got that manual valve, right? Sometimes you can pull it and it auto-inflates. Sometimes you can blow into it. Man, you are thinking about this all wrong from being warm at home. When you hit that cold water, all hell's breaking loose. Your body is going to panic. It's physiological. You need to do everything in your power before that situation ever happens to be as safe as possible when you're on the water. Which means take off the auto-inflate PFD and wear a quality, conventional style PFD that will work without any intervention from you or any fancy doodads that gotta make it pop. I choose the NRS Chinook. This is the PFD I wear year round. I love it. I've got it configured in a way that really helps me when I'm on the water. I'll go through it real quick. But my phone is always in this right pocket. I've got, if you can see it there, the shield tab from Rogue. I've got my tether inside the PFD, always connected. So whether I'm taking a picture and I drop it, it's safe. Either way, when I go over the side of the kayak into the water, my phone is with me. I've got a knife right here, quick release, always on the PFD. Never know when you're going to need a knife. In this pocket is where my GoPro batteries and everything are, but I have an emergency whistle in there as well. All right, there are some things that I have in the kayak all the time as kind of a base configuration, if you will. I know that's not the right word, but it's close enough. That's tools and things like that. But there are some things that I add in cold weather, okay? So my one dry bag has my rain gear in it. In addition to that rain gear, I add a change of clothes, head to toe. I also have a change of clothes in the Jeep. Now, the reason I keep dry clothing in both locations, if I'm out in the middle of a lake or a river somewhere and I end up in the water and I've got to change, the clothing in the Jeep isn't doing me any good, right? But if that happens and I change into the dry clothes that are in the kayak, at that point, I'm getting myself back to the Jeep. I am not continuing to fish. Don't play around with cold weather. If you go in, call that the end of the day. It's all about getting home safe at that point and getting warmed up. When I get back to the Jeep, those clothes that I'm now wearing are wet. Even if you have a towel packed in there, they're going to be wet. Everything's wet. I can now change again at the Jeep, get the heat going in there, and just try to work on warming up and making sure that what's against my skin is as dry and warm as possible. I have a second dry bag that I keep some different items in. One of those items is a wool blanket, specifically designed to help with hypothermia for people that have been exposed to cold water. Again, I'm going to put the links in the description down below. It's a really great blanket. I've used it just as a blanket when it's cold, and let me tell you, it's quite warm. It's very lightweight. You can pack it down very small, even smaller than this. The reason I keep that in a separate dry bag from my clothing and my rain gear is simply that if I'm wet, one of the first things I'm going to want is that blanket. And I don't want to get my dry clothes wet when I open the dry bag and I'm wet and I'm cold and I'm fumbling and I'm trying to get to that cold weather blanket. I want to keep that spare set of clothes as dry as possible. That's why I isolate to two separate dry bags. Something else that I keep in that bag, well, this stuff all kind of goes together. So I've got a metal cup with a little lid here, comes off. Whew. And there's lemon squeeze packets in there. Very handy if you're making tea. I've got a fuel tank and a little portable stove. This stove is the coolest because it packs up into this little tiny box. All right, so this stove's super easy. These just spin out, and now you can set a pot, pan, or a moka pot on it. I love this thing. This is made by Remote Designs. It's fantastic. I keep this and some coffee grounds in the kayak in that dry bag. And you simply fill this with water, which I always carry anyway. And you put your grounds in here. And then you put it on the fire, on your little burner there. And it will put fresh coffee out of the top. This isn't just in case I fall in. I make coffee in the kayak a lot when it's cold. You can make coffee at home, take it in a thermos, and I do that. And some thermoses are great. But if you need hot coffee or ramen noodles or really anything that's going to help warm you up, this is a very small amount of stuff to carry once it's all packed up and really makes a huge difference on the water. It was either last year or the year before. Me and Christian were out fishing at a local lake and it was cold. And like halfway through the day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make some ramen noodles. And I pulled over on the bank and I made ramen noodles for both of us. And I'm telling you, it really is a life-changing experience when it's cold outside. All right, so cold water habits. I don't take nearly as many risks in the winter. I fish by myself 99% of the time, including when the water is cold. But I don't travel as far or go out in as sketchy conditions. There are days normally where I might run 10, 20 miles, especially on the river, over the course of a day. When it's cold out, I'm not doing that. However far you go from the put-in, from your vehicle, is as far as you have to go back if something goes wrong. So if you go in the water and you've changed, but you're freezing and you're miserable and you need to get back to the vehicle. If you're 6 miles from the put-in, that's 6 miles you've got to go to get back to that vehicle. Stop and think about how long it takes you to travel when you're out kayak fishing in general. That's a long 6 miles. It would be a long 6 miles in a glitter rocket when you're cold like that. So I don't travel as far. There are some bodies of water I don't go to in the winter because I think it's going to be more dangerous. I don't bat an eye at 25 to 35 mile an hour winds during the summer and stuff. I'm going to be more careful about the wind in the winter. All right, the last thing I want to talk about, well, it's two things. One, you still need sunscreen in the winter. I'm the worst about that, but you do. The other thing I want to talk about is eye safety. This triggers the hell out of my friend Trey that I wear snowboarding goggles when I go fishing in the winter. He hates it. It makes him so crazy. How you got to treat your eyes is different in the winter, okay? I wear sunglasses outside all the time anyway because my eyes are just real sensitive to light. But in the winter, especially if there's snow on the ground, you got to be very careful with your eyes. Many of you have probably never heard of snow blindness. Growing up in New Jersey, I didn't know what snow blindness was. I knew the reflection off the snow would hurt my eyes. It's making them water now just thinking about it. When I moved to Michigan is when I really got educated on what snow blindness is. The reflection of the sun off of the snow can literally give your eyes sunburn. And if you've never had sunburned eyeballs, let me tell you, it fucking sucks. The reason I like snowboarding goggles so much is because they provide that extra layer of warmth to your face. They just cover more area. I find that when I wear my normal sunglasses in the winter and that cold wind is ripping and it gets behind the lens, it just really bothers my eyes. And you can eliminate all of that with the snowboard goggles. If you wear prescription glasses like I do, just make sure that the goggles you order are designed to be OTG over the glasses. That's what these ones are. I can put them on right over top of my eyeglasses. No big deal. The moral of the story here is simply preparation. You want to make sure that you're wearing the right clothing, that you have the right PFD, that you've packed the right things. You need to think out the worst case scenario from the comfort of your home and make things as easy as possible for you and as safe as possible if that comes to bear. So if I'm out fishing and I'm in my kayak, let's say I'm standing up and I slip and I fall in the water, I don't have to think in that moment, do I have the right PFD on? Are these clothes going to keep me warm? Is it going to bog me down? When I hit that water, I already know I've got the right PFD on. I've got a float suit. It's going to protect me not only from the from drowning, but from the cold water up to, I want to say my float suit is 2 hours in the water. It'll hold off hypothermia. I can't remember. I don't plan on ever being in the water long enough, but I have the right clothing on. When I get either to the shore, back in the kayak into the shore, however that works out. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with the word shore lately. It's my New Jersey coming out. I'm sorry. I have the change of clothing in the bag. I have the wool blanket. I can make myself some hot coffee. Let me tell you, this might be really the best tip that I give you. Get yourself one of these moka pots and one of these little burners and just plan ahead. Carry your coffee grounds and stuff in your cup, in your steel can there. And because when you get recovered and you get dried off, the blanket warmed up, you get changed or whatever, even if it's while you're driving the kayak back to the ramp, you can make coffee in your kayak. It's super easy. I actually should have done it yesterday when I was on the water and shown you guys a clip because I've never actually videoed myself, filmed myself making coffee in the kayak, but I'll do that here in the next trip or two and put that up for you guys. But that cup of coffee Man, when it hits, it just changes everything. Well, guys, I appreciate you watching. I'm going to put links in the description down below, just like I said I would, for everything that I've shown you and that I've talked about. Man, I just hope that this helps you somehow. If my advice can somehow save somebody's life or give them a better day on the water, my God, then it's all been worth it, right? I mean, what are we doing here on YouTube if it's not trying to help each other? If it's helped you, by all means, drop a comment down below. If you've got any questions, put those down there too. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the like button. Do all the things that we all ask you to do. It's free, right? Why not do it? Until next time, guys, tight lines.